All right, so I'm not sure why my live broadcast, it looks like I've got a little bit of a connection problem here. I'm going to try and go with this. I had a moments ago that broke up, shut down. I'm not sure why. But what I wanted to do is show you tide approaching right now, and it should be here in about a half an hour. And I do like the structures and that. I don't think we're going to lose the pier. You can actually go to the Cherry Grove, let's see, it's called the Prince Resort right there. You can go online and operate the camera from your remote location. We've probably got in excess of 40-mile-an-hour winds right now, blowing the water and the sand and everything else that's out there. My earlier broadcast, it was a very interesting place. I didn't know that I would actually be able to get in this parking lot. They may close it, I don't know. I think we'll be okay here though. Yeah, that's a staff member that's on the pier right now. I don't believe it's open at this time. When I'm going to zoom in a bit, show you what that looks like a bit closer. When the water starts hitting the boards underneath the pier, they shut it down because it can actually damage it. If that goes down and you're in the a person would be on that pier in the midst of the water, it would undoubtedly be very life-threatening, probably fatal. People have died as a result of this storm already. Hurricane Michael, they're calling it. And keep in mind, we've had modified weather for a long time. Is that true? What a bold statement. Yeah, it's true. You should know. You should know that they're modifying. On my channel called Weather Wars, it's not a channel, it's a page, and I have a documentary on HAARP. It's not the only documentary about weather modification and weather wars. It's just a very powerful example of some of the technology that is being implemented in the world that we live in. So there's technology to create and move storms. Right now, for example, this morning when I went live at first, the temperature here was 81 degrees. And then in Wisconsin, it was 43 degrees. Substantially different temperature there. Wow, they've actually got the pier open. If I were to go out there, though, it would be way too loud. I mean, people wouldn't want to hear the sound, so I'm not going to go out there. Actually, I think this vantage point provides more of what I want to show you. So I'm trying to cut the additional out sound of the engine in that. Just want you to see the waves coming in there, coming in here. The way it looks to me, the water that's out there is real close to the height of where I'm sitting right now. And there is quite a bit of movement of the car. I can feel that big time. So we have optical limitations. A storm like this will create a lot of limits as far as what we can see around the world. Humidity and outright snow and rain, fog limits our view. Oh my gosh, that's coming up really high. Yeah, I'm shocked that they let people out there right now. You know, I don't think I would want to be out there. Just because they have it open doesn't mean it's safe. Just to be clear. I'm gonna go ahead and raise this up a little bit. raise up the camera and not have it in the wind as much. Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of humidity. It's still 81 degrees out there. Very warm. See, the prevailing wind is coming in from the tropics. That's what we're dealing with here. So in the heliocentric model, the sun worshiping solar model, the lie, they say we're spinning, wobbling, and gyrating at over 1,038 miles an hour at the equator. And we don't feel the movement. It's just the way. They're lying. They're lying. I ain't buying. That's what I wanted to basically, why I've changed the name of my channel to Truth, is because I want people to consider what actually is the truth. Are they actually modifying the weather? Yeah, absolutely. I've got documentaries on my channel. It's not limited to the one video on HAARP. Wow. Way too much humidity coming in. I've got to drop it down. That temperature differential of the air conditioning system, that's going to pull the moisture out of the cabin here. It's just way too moist. So the flood that covered the face of the earth to over the tops of all the mountains, the Great Flood that Noah prepared for, that would mean if the height of the mountains then were as high as they are now, it'd be over 5.5 feet more water, 5.5 miles more water than covers the earth right now. We've got pyramids underneath the ocean and shark teeth in the desert. What are you going to do with that? Well, I'm going to acknowledge the biblical account is true, and it's not just based on the Great Flood and the account of that. It's way more than that. So look at the height of the man and the waves right there. Kind of interesting, isn't it? What's happening is God set the boundaries of the waters. That's biblical. That's reality. Sufficiently enough that millions and actually billions of dollars of development, real estate development structures all around the face of the earth is high population centers are on the coast. It's just a very practical way of distributing goods and services and people all around the face of the earth using ships. The largest machines in the world are transported by the ships, container ships. We actually lose about a container ship a week, I believe the official reports are. Not by pirates necessarily, rogue waves that crash onto ships, much like we see them crashing on the beach right in front of us, and they break a ship right in half. We know that something phenomenal is happening to them because there's no call for Mayday, nothing like that. They just vanish. Oh my gosh, I got to show you this. The waves the wave that just appeared at the end of the pier there was really, really high. So right now I'm broadcasting this with the iPhone 10 and the isolated headphones. The AirPods are what I'm using. It solved a bit of a problem that I was having with the charging. I think now I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can add some power to the device as well. Yeah, so if a person were out in that water right now, it'd be tough for him to survive. You know, a shipwreck out at sea. The gospel account, or I should say in the book of Acts, talking about the some of the activity where they were on the ships. Pretty big deal. A lot of families coming on out to see what this looks like. A lot of curiosity, of course. See, we can't see the wind, however, we can see what the wind does. A very powerful reality there. Something to keep in mind. The Holy Spirit is invisible, yet we can see the results of the changed lives. And that is what happened to me. I had an encounter with God that He changed me, gave me His Holy Spirit, the new nature. The reason I struggled so much is all I had was my flesh. I didn't have the power of the Spirit. So I'm going to try and hold the camera still. The wind is moving the car quite a bit. On my YouTube channel, I've got a lot of content where and Facebook where I've recorded with the P1000 and the P900. You might find it interesting. Extended broadcasts with a audio Bible merged with the beauty of creation. So buoyancy is one of the demonstrations of the reality of the world that we live in. There will be a lot of things moved around by the water, things that float, trees and wood from structures, all of that. If we get enough water storm surge from this storm, it would have the ability to damage the pier and bring it down. It's been quite a few years since that's happened. Hurricane Matthew caused damage. We had repairs on it. But there's been other hurricanes that have taken structures down. Even high rises, concrete, steel reinforced concrete can be compromised by the water. The water's powerful enough to do that. So to proclaim that there is actually weather modification, that's actually a really big deal. Because there is the creation of drought and flooding, and people die as a result of both of those. There are corporations that can then purchase properties because people can't afford to rebuild. Maybe they weren't covered by insurance. The water conforms to its container, covers the face of the earth. That's part of the empirical evidence of the impossibility of the globe. Do you know how much a gallon of water weighs? Well, that depends on temperature because the volume and density changes with the temperature. I'm not unscientific. I'm very precise when I talk about this kind of thing because it actually matters. The slight temperature differentials actually change how this all works out. The evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. So we live about 7 miles away, and very importantly, only about 20 feet above sea level, where we are right now. So if we had a tsunami, a large wave come in here, it could It could come all the way to where we live, potentially. I'm not afraid of that. Like I say, I'm not afraid to live, die, or tell the truth. That's just the reality of that. So right now we're right at about high tide. And yet it still may rise higher than this. This is one of the reasons why we have a beach renourishment process that happens here regularly. Last year I did many broadcasts and some videos that are posted that show the renourishment process. They move with a 30-inch pipe and diesel pumps. They'll take a slurry, a mixture of about 1,500 20-yard dump truck loads full of sand, and that's the aggregate, and then 60% more water to move it all, and then it'll wash back out to sea. They'll do that in 45 minutes. Pretty powerful system, and it's very expensive. They do that to cause structures like this to not topple into the ocean. Enough water rise coming in unprotected from the ocean would erode the foundation and cause buildings to collapse. So that's one of the reasons why they do this. So right now we see a lot of waves. I'm going to take you to an area that's going to be a bit more calm, and yet there's going to be a lot of wind, of course. I'm going to see how close I can get to the coastal preserve. That should, there will be less big waves. There will be little waves because of the wind. That's obvious to see. Part of what happens, there's a lot of wind coming in from the ocean. So if a window is compromised, what'll end up happening is it will pressurize the structure, combined with the vacuum on the back side of the structure, and peel roofs right off of houses. I won't say effortlessly. The wind puts a lot of effort into it, to be sure. Yeah, apparently they've got some of the road blocked off there. I'm going to see if I can get through to the coastal preserve here. So this water is much higher on the right side than the left side. The 4 culverts allow water transfer between. Most of the marsh grass is now covered up, and the walkout there is, the water is coming right up on it, underneath it. Yeah, I don't know if I can pull in here. Nope. Nope, can't pull in there. Yeah, see, here we can see where roof damage occurred. So I'll show you, I had somebody kind of like in a hurry to get around me, and I can pull up on this side and just show you what it looks like here. Now, the parking lot is high enough where I could park there. However, there's a low spot right there, and that would be a car killer. If I were to drive in there to try and get up, it would just kill the car. If a car shuts off with the tailpipe under the water, largely it'll get sucked right into the combustion chamber, kill the car. It does look like I've got a parking spot here I'm going to take full advantage of right now. Put the hazards on there, and I'm going to take us out. It's going to be a bit windy, of course. So we don't see the big waves. However, there's plenty of texture there. Having the car labeled up like this, it's a little bit more, gives me a little bit more access to areas. People understand I'm recording, I'm broadcasting. So right in the middle of the view here, there is a storm drain over there too. So there's a reverse flow of water that just occurs then. So like in our neighborhood where I live, there's actually the storm drains were filling up our neighborhood with water, and they would normally carry it away. And this is a good example of why the houses are up on stilts, right here. So, like right where I stepped here, we've got quite a bit of the greenery that provides a little bit of a windbreak. Kind of nice. Now, Hurricane Matthew that came in here covered over the tops of the railings, from what I was told. All the wood and marsh grass gets floated around. Anything that's less dense than the water will float, get moved around. We've got a lot of pictures and video of this area that you can see when it's undisturbed and very calm, very quiet. And then this coming on out here, I wanted to kind of put this together to show you how much different it looks. I don't think I can reach there to turn that faucet on there. I think you get the idea. The water covers the face of the earth and fills its container. I heard on the forecast for tomorrow, actually supposed to be pretty beautiful, a lot of sunshine, clear skies. So I'm gonna go in this area right here, a little bit out of the way. It's whipping around quite a bit. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get us in the car. It could start pouring rain any minute. Okay, so this area right here is a little bit protected. The wind blows over the top quite a bit. And the way I wanted to basically talk about it a little bit. Earlier in the broadcast, we could see massive waves crashing in. The water basically that fills up this area right here comes in right down over there, several miles away, and it's the point in Cherry Grove, and it fills up the Russell Burgess Coastal Preserve where we are looking at right now. We can see the effect of how the wind, the turbulence changes the reflections on the water. You can see the texture changes, how all that works out. So the water is a big clue, even though there's a lot of huge breaking waves over on the other side of the where I drove in from. The Prince Resort, where the pier is right in front of that building, and we can see how the turbulent waters are a little more relaxed, yet there's a lot of wind on the top of it. I have a video that I hashtagged water spout in it. Could actually see a water spout coming down off the end of the pier. I would say it was probably 4 to 5 miles out though. I didn't want my AirPod to go flying in the water. So just a bit of an example here. The little puddle right there, it just fills that area in. As the water comes up out here, it'll come up right in here as well. It's just what it does. And if the water comes up about a foot more, it'll be over the top, or a couple more feet, it'll be over the top of the walkout there. Part of this is a sound check as well for me. I try to protect the earbuds. So underneath the car is the moisture dripping from the condenser. I'm gonna show that to you. I was telling one of my new friends, Jamie, got a thumbs up from the in the car there. I said, you know, the water that comes out from the condenser, I said, have you ever been driving your truck? He's an over-the-road trucker. I said, have you ever been driving across the desert and been thirsty and not have water? He said, yeah. I said, well, if you had a reclamation bottle that would capture that water from your condenser, you could actually drink it. He said, that's a good idea. He's got a big white Freightliner. Could save your life. See, like I could put a pan underneath my car to catch water for a little while, but in the drive, that water just gets put out on the roadway. So I'm gonna flip this around and go for a little bit of a drive. Now the road behind where I was is impassable for a vehicle, a car I should say. A bicycle I could drive, but it would be a car killer. So like right here, you'll be able to see the current, hopefully you can see it, flowing under the road. Now what I did here, yeah, there's the culverts right in the middle of the view. On the other side of the road, right over here, is where where I've got the whirlpools turning in opposite directions right next to one another. Some people seem to believe that what's termed as the Coriolis effect, the supposed rotation of the Earth. I say supposed because it's not moving. Okay, they say that the Coriolis effect affects how artillery, snipers, all of that. That's just science fiction. They're making this stuff up. It's not real. Okay. So what's interesting about this is that the water rises and then the water falls. It'll just go away, which is nice. So what I can show you by just kind of driving around a little bit is I can go places where and show you the precision with which this happens. Okay, so this right in the middle of the view is a car killer right there. That's enough to stop this car from running, no problemo. We gotta wait for other vehicles to move around, and I'm gonna get us out of here. See, because of the fact that my vehicle is all labeled up, even though I'm going to change the name of the YouTube channel, I have a bit of latitude, like I mentioned earlier, that the people with the law enforcement and municipalities give me a bit of latitude to drive around and do stuff. This piece of plywood could very easily go flying if the wind gets underneath it. So here we can see the precision with which the water is covering the road. And I can see that it's only a couple inches deep, but that's salt water, and I really don't want it in my car. Or, yeah. I think I can just drive ahead through this, though. It illustrates a pretty important point. Now, off to the right there, we can see where it's a bit higher. And I can drive up that way and I'll be fine. So the Earth doesn't move and is covered by a protective dome called the firmament. If you look at like a molten glass structure. We can see through this. The water on the bottom is curved, fills the container it's in, covers the face of the earth, seeks level. Not just left to right, 360 degrees all the way around. I won't be able to have it get perfectly still in this car because, well, the car's moving. Right there in the middle of the view, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. We had air bubbles coming out of there, out of a storm drain. Not so much anymore. What ended up happening on the beach a while back, I was recording and I could see a big air pocket coming out. It was kind of interesting. So right in the middle of the view, right in the center there, is a little bit of a high spot. Even though there's a lot of wind and there's big waves over on the ocean, right here it's pretty calm. We aren't under any kind of evacuation right now. People don't need to evacuate. They've got the road blocked off there. Evidently, yeah, water is crossing the road up there. So I'm going to take us to the Sunrise Point. Have the ability to go up into a parking ramp ocean front. Should give us a really interesting perspective. That's just a couple minutes away. So right here, this is obviously a bit higher than where we were. And I'm going to show you that evidence of that because the water is filling in up there, down there I should say. Should be the same thing right over there. It's at about the same level. Here we've got some buildings that are going up, steel reinforced concrete. That's a very effective way to build. A much more durable construction than the wood pilings. However, it's quite a bit more expensive. A big blob of sea foam hit or a blob, not a big one, hit the windshield. So I'm going to be able to drive us real close to the beach right here, I believe. And then I'm going to take us up a little bit. What's nice about this, I can go out a little bit further. Right in front of this building here is where I did the Hurricane Florence live broadcast. Weather Wars, I called it. I'm going to take us right out there and show you this. It's pretty interesting looking. I've never seen it quite like this. Okay, so this right over behind us is, I'm gonna take us up into the parking lot there. Now these elevated dunes that have the greenery, I've got a video where they used a cordless auger to go ahead and create a place for the grass to be transplanted in. Pretty fascinating. They went really fast. I think it might have been a gas-powered auger that they used for that. And they put them in really quick. See, what we didn't know, or I didn't know with Hurricane Florence, would we actually have enough storm surge that it would move structures across the road, which was very possible. I'm going to open this up so you can hear it. The next level up, you should hear the wind blowing through the cables even more. So where I thought for Hurricane Florence I was going to be able to broadcast from the Prince Resort, they actually closed the parking ramp for that. It's almost too much wind coming out. I don't want my AirPods to go flying out of my ears and get lost somewhere. I do think I can go up though. It's fixing to blow my phone out of the tripod or out of the holder, so I'm gonna just back off on that. I'm gonna take us up another level. So like on all the balconies there, they've got a little grade so that the actually from the door threshold to the edge of the balcony is probably about 10 feet wide, and I would estimate there's about 3 inches of a difference in elevation so that water drains away. That's kind of a big deal. I can go to a spot that'll give me a little bit of clearance, I think. Yeah, okay. I actually want to take us outside to show you this. Okay, so I'm gonna put the earbuds in here and go for a little walk outside, see how that works. All right, so I don't know how that turned out, if the mic cut in and out or what. I think that it might have just given you the outside sound. The microphones, that's right, cut out as soon as I take them out of my ear. It feels like there's probably, I ride a motorcycle, and so I have a bit of an idea of what the wind feels like. That feels like it's approaching between 50 and 60 miles an hour right now. So I do believe I'm gonna go ahead and take us home. Take me home. Take you for the ride with me. The waves are spectacular out there. They're massive. So I have some video, top 5, shows some of the biggest waves. This parking structure is moving. So is the car. On the top 5, it shows a massive wave captured, a rogue wave that a ship was on. It's actually the video that PewDiePie is making fun of me on the first Flat Earth Conference video. Shows the front end of that ship, and it was supposedly, I believe, close to a 100-foot wave. If it were to hit that ship in a, well, it could have crashed it right down, totally. So as I go down in elevation, I become more vulnerable to water, and I'll have more wind breaks that are provided by the structures. It's all part of the deal. One of the challenges when we have a big storm come in, a lot of the condos will pull the elevators up so they don't get hit, covered by salt water, yet damage still can occur. But it makes moving equipment and stuff quite a bit more challenging. So like when we evacuated our house, Joni brought the kitties on in to the condo that we clean, and trying to move a whole bunch of kitties and stuff would have been a real challenge. Now I've got a video that shows this. I don't know if I'll be able to show you now. The wind is coming in from the right side, from the ocean. And at, I believe, the sea marsh, it showed the flag was flowing that direction because of the vortex created by the wind. Yeah, I can see some of the sand is blowing multi-directionally. We've got power trucks and power companies out, Santee Cooper. On my way from Alabama, there was a truck similar to that. It had looked like a steel reinforced concrete support box on the back, so that they can drop a box that doesn't blow away, that a person can be in, elevated off of the water, should the water come in. They've got the flag down, so I can't show you. But the dunes are a very important part of the ecosystem and the protection of the building structures and that around here. I'm not going to be here for very long, and there aren't any trucks out on the beach. No beach patrol out there. It's no big deal. But we can certainly see how the wind is moving the sand here. That's just what it does. It's very abrasive, and wow, there's a person out there. And the sand is, or the salt is very corrosive. It's an oxidizer. It's just what it does. So it causes a lot of corrosion on aluminum, even many of the steels that can handle a lot of rust actually get affected quite a bit by the salt. So there's a lot of curious people driving around, just like me, and taking you for a ride and showing you. So this is where I normally park to do a lot of my photography and videography out on the point. I'm not gonna be headed out there right now though. Ah, kind of nice. In preparation for a potential power outage, sometimes what they'll do is just open the gates here. So I'm going to take us in. Got friends that live here. Richard up on the right here. Richard and Polly. Wow. So I'm going to pull the earbuds out again. I think that you'll probably hear a lot more of the wind, but I want to show you something. With all the different, I'm going to try and get out of the wind a little bit. Right here is a little bit of a windbreak from this building. And it's real easy to see all the low spots because, well, the water's there. That's just how it works. That's just the reality of it. The water seeks its level, covers the face of the earth. This is what I talked about earlier. I'm going to zoom on in. The iconic island. So the water fills it up, and then as it flows back out, there's a lot of turbulence in between there. A lot of water moving in and out, up and down. So I don't know